You can assess and audit your productivity daily, just like the element you're looking at on your screen, and you can do it all inside of NotebookLM. Process is going to be straightforward. Every day, you're going to dictate a new note. Today, I talked to the client. We also went over their stat sheet. You will dictate the progress that you make on a daily basis to Google Keep. At the end of the day, what you will do is you will take your completed note for the day. You will go to the ellipsis. You will then send the note. You will send the note as a copy to your Google Docs. The note will then be copied to your Google Docs. That note will then be available on both your mobile device and your desktop. You will then have a dated assessment of your work in your Google Doc on your desktop. In order to make this work, you aren't going to just dictate at random. You need to have a script that you use every day in the very same way. And you're going to write this script by using personal intelligence. If you go inside of Gemini and you click on personal intelligence, you want to make sure that Gemini can access your past chats. And optionally, you may want to have Gemini access your Gmail, your calendar, Google Docs, Google Keep, and Google Tasks. Now, it's important to note that these things will not help us for our assessment because personal intelligence is good at what you're doing and what you're about to do, not necessarily assessing what you have done. However, we can use personal intelligence to help us to write a daily script. So we're going to use personal intelligence in order to help us to write the script. To trigger personal intelligence, we're going to ask to use our task, our calendar, our YouTube history, our goals, and our past chats. It may do that automatically, but we want to trigger that fact in the chat, and we want to trigger that fact into the script that we're going to dictate to Google Keep on a daily basis. Your script is going to look different than anyone else's script. Gemini is going to come up with a script for you to dictate into Google Keep on a daily basis. Much of that is going to depend on how much you have enabled, whether you have personal intelligence enabled or whether you have personal activity enabled. Gemini will then be able to put more personal context into the script that it generates. But even if you have none of those things enabled, you can use Gemini to put together a script to help you to assess your productivity. One thing that you can do, you can copy this entire response. You can head to another conversation and you can use it to create a dynamic view image. And this is optional. You don't have to use dynamic view. If this helps you to dictate your thoughts on a daily basis, if it helps you to organize your thoughts quickly so that you can dictate to Google Keep, then you want to use it. Otherwise, you can just use the script on a daily basis. The most important thing is to dictate from the same guidelines on a daily basis for the assessment to be made. You can then create a new notebook. When you create a new notebook, you can grab the Google Doc from the drive. You will do this on a daily basis. So if you have a date of the 18th, you want to make sure you've got one for the 19th, for the 20th, and every day you're going to, at the end of the day, make an assessment based on the script about your day, about your business, about your client management, and what you are completing. And again, the script should be generated using personal intelligence in Gemini. In this case, we don't need studio assets. We won't necessarily benefit at this point from any of the studio assets. At some point, we will benefit from being able to use the data table. But at this point, when you are still gathering data, you will be using the notebook to keep your series in one place. You will need to have about 30 days of data in succession in order to make any meaningful decision about what it is you learn. Okay, so that's a sample of a video note. It's not necessarily a real note. It's not necessarily something that really happened. It is something that if it did happen, how I would dictate it into this area. And this is probably not a full day's assessment, but it's a way in which I might go about dictating a note about something that happened. So the next thing I need to do is I need to go to the ellipsis. I need to click the send button. I need to send this to Google Docs. It's going to copy it to a Google Doc. I can now open that Google Doc. And there's my information inside of the Google Doc. So I then want to go to my NotebookLM notebook. I want to go to Google Drive. I want to import that source into this area. And so now I have my document. I can click F5 to refresh to make sure it's based on this specific document. And I'm going to do this every day. And really what this should be is this should be numbered and named according to the date. So I'm going to make sure that the date is in there and then click save. And my date is now ready and I have a dated document. So the next day that I'm going to do this, I'm going to have another dated document that will look exactly like this one. Now, at any given time in this process, I don't have to wait 30 days in order to start benefiting from the assessment that I'm making. I can generate a mind map of my process. I could generate an audio overview, and I can ask the audio overview in this case what I could be doing better. It's a good idea that you tell the AI in this case day one, but you might say whatever day it is. If you're going to have 6 days of data in there, you want to say that this is now day 6 of a 30-day series. And you can work with the prompt however you want. So we're just going to leave this in here and we're going to generate a debate to try to determine if there are 2 sides to what we're doing right, 2 sides to what we may be doing wrong. And we can use the rest of the reports however we see fit. We can use the slide deck to make it easy. So we can put in our same prompt. We can then generate a detailed slide deck. We can do a video overview. We can do a report. We could even do an infographic. And we can generate an infographic. This is an optional process. You are really wanting all of the data in there after 30 days in order to make a decision and for it to be a real experiment. The goal is to learn from what you're doing and to figure out how you can do it better and to allow the AI in order to help you. You want to assess your progress against an authoritative source or source you trust. For example, if you're going to do productivity, you might use a source like Cal Newport's Deep Work. And this is going to involve you getting deep work either from the public library or purchasing a paperback copy and then scanning that copy using a book scanner or book scanning service. You will then take that authoritative source and then you're going to print one chapter at a time into a PDF format. So for example, if we're looking at chapter 1, you'll notice this starts at page 16. Chapter 2 starts at page 32. So we would then go to the printer. We're going to print pages 16 to 31. So we're going to upload this book in tight focused PDFs to reduce the likelihood that we're going to get hallucinations when comparing the work to our results. And you can scan whatever copy of an authoritative text that you personally find that you want to work through, whether it's recommended or not. If you find it helpful to read, you'll find it helpful to work through. You're just going to print off one chapter at a time from your authoritative source. For the sake of time, we're just going to upload one of those sources here. But again, you would upload all of the individual chapters to your NotebookLM. And you want to use the resources in NotebookLM to help you from your authoritative source. Now, this works well if you already read the authoritative source and you know what's in it. If you're learning this source, it's not going to work as well. So that's the process. Every day for 30 days, you're going to dictate into Google Keep at the end of the night. You'll export that information into a Google Doc. Every day, you'll upload your journal document to NotebookLM and you'll assess it against the authoritative source that you want to work with. Now, again, you can get insight as you're going. Whether you choose to use the authoritative source or you choose to allow NotebookLM to assess it, you'll get an objective view of how you are managing your time. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.